welcome to Used Car Heaven, the program that helps you, the viewer, get behind the wheel of your next car. This week, Darren Parr has £5,000 to spend. He wants a stylish coupe, and we have 3 cars for him to drive, but which one will he choose? Well, Ian Royal will be trying to tempt Darren with an alternative set of wheels, and there's more from our car doctor Simon Hughes as he attempts to cure some of your car's mechanical problems.
Hi, I'm Darren Parr, 27 years old from Bolton. This is my J-Reg 1991 Audi Coupe 2-litre E, and I'm considering trading it in for something maybe a little bit new, a bit more stylish.
So Darren's after something stylish for around £5,000 to replace his Audi Coupe. Well, let's see what he thinks of our first car. In the early 90s, this car maker was booming. They had an open-top 2-seater that was selling like hotcakes, a stylish BMW 3 Series competitor, and not one but 2 stylish coupes. This coupe shares the running gear from a car that originated in the USA, the Ford Probe. But don't let that put you off. This is no wallowy American. It's a cracker to drive with a smooth 2.5-litre V6 that gets you to 60 in just over 8 seconds and a top speed of 130 miles per hour. But what will Darren make of Mazda's sleek MX6? So what do you think of the performance?
Very impressed with the performance. It feels like a lot of power under the bonnet. You can feel it as soon as you put your foot down on the accelerator. Even at like 2,000 revs now, it feels like it's just ready to pick up.
You really haven't pushed it though, have you?
No, not yet.
Now, the big question is, if you were to buy one of these, you were to bring it back and show it to your friends, what do you think they'd say?
I think they'd all be impressed. I think just the way it looks more than anything. I think it's just got a really nice look to it. Even though it's 12 years old, it still looks like it can hold its own with any of the new cars out at the moment. So I've always really liked the look of my Audi, but since this was pulled up next to my Audi, I couldn't help but think mine looks a little bit dated, even though they're both the same age. I think maybe, obviously because this is a lot sleeker, whereas mine's, the Audi is a lot more boxy.
Yeah.
But, performance-wise, the Audi doesn't touch this.
Launched back in 1992, the MX6 was based on the American Ford Probe, an unloved successor to the Capri. The MX6 proved to be a much better drive. Its 2.5-litre V6 was smooth and pumped out 165 brake horsepower. Available with either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic, the car's specification was improved after 1994. Mazda finished selling MX6s in the UK in 1998 on an S-plate. So why would you want to buy a Mazda MX6? The design is over 10 years old, which means it doesn't look as cool as it used to. But it does come with an awful lot of standard amount of equipment. You get power steering, ABS, central locking, cruise control. You'll also get electric windows, electric mirrors, and electric sunroof. Now this particular one here, this is actually a Japanese import, which means you'll also get 4-wheel steering, and the engine has been given a bit of a power boost. MX6 prices range from just over £1,000 for a tatty early 1992 car to around £6,000 for one of the last 98 cars. Automatics are popular with MX6 drivers. Cars fitted with a manual box usually cost £150 to £300 less. Darren's £5,000 should get him a 1997 car on a P or R plate in good condition. But what will he think of Mazda's MX6? All right, I know by the look on your face you really enjoyed driving the MX6, but what was the best thing about it?
I think the best thing by a long way was the performance of it. I really never expected it to be anywhere near that quick. I thought my Audi was quick before I got behind the wheel of that, but yeah, it just really blew me away.
Now, I know you thought the car was going to be powerful, but did you expect it to be so powerful?
Yeah, I think you're dead right there. I was expecting it to be fast, but I don't think I've ever been behind the wheel of a car that's had that much power, just wanting to be used, really.
Do you think you used enough of it?
I think there was a lot more there to be used, and I think I'll get myself into a bit of trouble if I used all of it.
All right, well, we know power is one thing, but you're going to have to use this every day. Do you think it'd suit you?
Well, I do quite a bit of motorway driving to and from work, so obviously that would be ideal on the open motorway. Maybe not so much the sitting in the rush hour traffic, but definitely on the open motorway, that'd be great.
All right, Darren, I know that definitely has put a smile on your face, but don't make up your mind yet because we've got a couple of more cars for you to have a look at. So let's have a look at our next car. Several years ago, you wouldn't have thought that the manufacturer of the boxy Stellar or Pony had curves like this in them. This car marked a turning point in car buyers' attitudes. Korean cars weren't just gizmo-packed bargain boxes, they could appeal to the heart as well. But what will Darren think of the Hyundai Coupe?
So what do you think of it, performance-wise?
Well, having driven the Mazda, that's got quite a bit to live up to, but it's certainly competent. Handling doesn't seem too bad. Acceleration is quite good. But I suppose still playing on the back of my mind is it's not quite as, well, nowhere near as quick as the Mazda, but had I not driven that, then yeah, I think I'd be impressed with its performance. Yeah, it's not a bad car.
You got leather seats and everything, which aren't bad.
I do like the leather seats, yeah, definitely. But all over leather interior as well, rather than quite often the part leather. So yeah, it feels quite luxurious. To be slightly nobby, the only thing I don't like about it is the Hyundai badge on the front.
Because it's a Hyundai or because of the shape of the badge?
Purely because of the name.
So what you're saying to me then is your decision on maybe buying this car could actually come down to nothing to do with how the car performs, nothing to do with what it looks like, nothing to do with the interior of the car, but actually the H on the front of the car.
It could be a factor, but I don't think it will be a deciding factor. I don't think I'm quite that snobby.
Launched way back in 1996, the Coupe was something of a hit for Hyundai and prepared us for more desirable vehicles from the once unloved Korean carmaker. Coupes have often been about looking good rather than driving fast. Hyundai tapped into this perfectly. Although they made sporty 2-litre F2 Evolution models, they also made cheaper but still desirable 1.6-litre models. This curvy coupe received a rather dubious facelift in 2000. The result? Fuzzy, or even dare I say it, ugly.
Just like the Mazda, this Hyundai comes extremely well equipped. You get power steering, electric sunroof, electric windows, electric mirrors, and if you go for the SE version, which is what this is, it comes with leather seats and a CD player. Okay, so the Hyundai badge doesn't have a lot of status, but in Italy, where they love the style, this car sold by the bucket loads. And if specification and style aren't your cup of tea, well, it's also very reliable and reasonably economical, either in the 1.6 or the 2-litre engine version.
Prices for the Hyundai Coupe start at just under $3,000 for an early 1996 2-litre on a P-plate and rise to around £10,500 for one of the last post-facelifted 2001 cars. Prices for the limited edition F2 model are around 10% higher than the 2-litre SE, so expect to pay around £7,500 for a good example. Darren's $5,000 should get him a 1997 car, the same shape as ours in good condition. But let's find out what he thinks of the Hyundai Coupe.
Right then, the little Korean beauty, the Hyundai Coupe. What did you think?
I was very impressed, pleasantly surprised with it. As I said before, I was expecting it to be a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, really. But yeah, it was certainly a lot better performance than I was expecting.
All right, so does that mean like you get the Mazda and you hit it into touch?
No, not sure yet. I think the Mazda's definitely there.
Okay.
Just maybe if we put the Mazda badge on the front of this.
Okay, I've asked you before, I'll ask you again, why do you have such a problem with the H badge, the Hyundai badge?
I wouldn't say it's so much a problem, more a minor gripe really, just with the history of the type of model of car that they bring out. But this one really stands out from the rest of them.
All right, well listen, don't make up your mind yet because I've got a couple of more cars for you to see. But before we do, it's time to join our car doctor, Simon Hughes, who's got all the answers to your questions.
Today we've got a selection of alloy wheels, some of which are repairable, some aren't, and they're all in various different states. So I'm going to just show you around them. We've got all these down here, and they're actually all repairable. We've got a classic one off a TVR, an RS2000, an RS Turbo, and another Ford one there. But they are all repairable. This one here off a motorbike is dented here, which you can see, that is also repairable. However, we've got one off a car that's dented here, and that's scrap basically. And this one here is also repairable. When I say repairable, you'll see that basically alloy wheels suffer from corrosion, and you don't have to send them away and spend hundreds of pounds having them refurbished. You can actually do it yourself. So I've got two main tips today. The first one is cleaning them. Alloy wheels look awful with brake dust on, road grime, tar, things like that. And I've got one here that I've had a bit of a play with. I've tried alloy wheel cleaner on it and it's not actually had much of an effect, but what I tend to use is actually, and don't laugh, oven cleaner. and if you spray it on, follow the instructions on the tin but using it on the alloy, it actually brings off all this brake dust and grime, and as you can see, after 5 minutes work, what looks to be a scrap wheel and needs respraying has actually come up really clean. But obviously always follow the instructions for safety on the tin. So that'll go again. This one is suffering really badly from corrosion. You can even see we've got bits of silver paint that come off. So I've chosen this to show you how easy it is to refurbish them. And I've sectioned off one part of this wheel with just some masking tape, and I've used simple products that have cost me less than £20. And what I've done is I've rubbed it down in 5 minutes with some rubbing down paper. I've masked it up, I've put some primer on, some wheel silver and some lacquer, and I think I've got pretty good results in just 5 minutes. So the reason I'm emphasising that is because if you spend a bit more time, like a couple of hours, you can actually refurbish a wheel like this at home yourself very cheaply and get very good results. So top tips for alloy wheels: don't throw them away. Don't spend a lot of money, but maybe have a bit of a play at cleaning them properly, and then if you feel really confident, have a go at respraying them yourself. But another tip is, if you are going to spray them, take them off the car so that you don't get overspray on your brakes, and if you get any paint on your tyres, you can just clean it off with some thinners.
Right then, so far Darren has driven the Hyundai Coupe, which he liked, but he liked the Mazda MX6 even more. And I've got one more car for him to have a look at, so make sure you join us after the break. And if you've taken a fancy to any of these cars so far, we'll be telling you what to look out for if you do eventually go out and try and buy one of them. See you in a minute. Hi and welcome back to Used Car Heaven. Now this week's viewer is Darren. He's got £5,000 to spend on a stylish car. So far he's tried this, the Mazda MX6, and this, the Hyundai Coupe. And I've got one more car for him to have a look at. So let's see what he thinks.
From a company that made its name making hatchbacks, this car was a big surprise when it was revealed back in 1994. Built by Pininfarina, the legendary styling house responsible for so many Ferraris over the years, this car's controversial looks actually came from an in-house design studio. One of its designers, a Chris Bangle, is the man behind the current BMW styling debate. The turbo models were dubbed mini Ferraris and capable of over 150 miles per hour. But what will Darren think of the Fiat Coupe? Launched in 1995 with a choice of two engines, a 4-cylinder 16-valve producing 142 brake horsepower, or a more rapid turbo version pumping out 195 brake horsepower. But the stakes were raised a year later when Fiat replaced the aged 4-cylinder and slotted their 2-litre 5-cylinder into the coupe, dubbed a mini Ferrari by magazines. The turbo model would crack 0 to 60 in under 6 seconds and a top speed of 150 miles per hour.
So what do you think of the Fiat Coupe? A little underwhelmed, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
A bit let down. I was just expecting a lot more performance-wise from it. It's got the looks. It's just I was expecting to feel a lot more when I put my foot down in it.
So what do you think your friends would think if you were to drive home in this?
I think they'd be impressed. I think maybe not as impressed when they actually get inside it as they will be just to see it from the outside.
You're really disappointed by it, yeah, because it's something you've always wanted to drive, and now that you're in it, it's like you seem deflated almost.
Yeah, because first time I bought a Fiat, there was one of these in the showroom, and I thought, oh, God, I'd really like one of those cars. But I think now that I've actually driven one, I'm probably glad that I didn't waste my time getting one.
In 1998, Fiat released a special edition turbo LE model with a 6-speed box. It was a sad day back in 2001 when Fiat announced that they were to stop selling the coupe.
First, there's the looks. It's Italian, and it's the only one of our 3 cars here today to wear the legendary Pininfarina badge. It's always been controversial, but I still think it looks great. On the inside, it's pretty cool as well, and that's even before we take a look at the performance. This particular model we have here today isn't the fastest, but the turbo version is like a rocket ship.
Early 16-valve cars can be found for under £2,000, while the final Turbo Plus models are still commanding prices over £11,000 in good condition. For Darren's £5,000, we'd suggest that he went for either an early 1996 20-valve non-turbo car or, like this, a late model 16-valve car. Both should be in good condition for the money. Let's find out what Darren thinks of the Fiat Coupe. All right, Darren, the last one today is this, the Fiat Coupe, something you were really looking forward to driving. Just recap what you thought about it performance-wise.
Performance-wise, I think I was a little underwhelmed by it. I think it was believed to have about 160 brake horsepower, but to be honest, it felt like a lot less. I was really expecting more when I put my foot down.
Overall, I think you were very disappointed with the car, but styling-wise, it was about the only positive thing you had to say about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, arguably, it's possibly the most stylish car here. Ever since I used to own a Fiat Bravo and I went into the Fiat showroom and I saw one of these, I always thought, yeah, I definitely want one of those cars in the future.
You were bitterly disappointed by it, performance-wise, and I don't think it's going to be a winner today, but don't make a decision yet. You've seen the three cars that I wanted to show you. We've now got another one, Ian Royal, as an alternative. It's the Nissan 200 SX.
If Darren is looking for a stylish coupe, he could do worse than look at Nissan's 200 SX. Although it was originally launched back in 1989 as a curvy sports coupe with pop-up headlamps, this was dropped in 1994 when the car became more of the Grand Tourer that you see here. The 200 SX is powered by Nissan's 4-cylinder 2-litre turbocharged engine, which pumps out 200 brake horsepower. And unlike the Fiat, Hyundai and Mazda, that power goes to the rear wheels, giving this car a more sportier drive. On paper, it's competitive too. 0 to 60 takes a little over 7 seconds, top speed is 140 miles an hour. And it's reliable if it's been properly looked after, so a full service history is vital. The Nissan 200 SX was available with either a 5-speed manual gearbox or a 4-speed auto. And remember, that turbocharger, it kicks in eventually. There is a bit of turbo lag there, as you would expect with most turbocharged cars, particularly of this sort of era. So you kind of put your foot down and nothing happens, and then, oh yes, there's the power eventually. So what about the interior of the 200 SX? Well, it's classic Japanese, to be honest. It has that typical interior to it. Lots of plastic. It's well put together, sure. It's not going to go wrong, but it just doesn't have any panache about it. Now, the ones certainly to look out for were the facelifted 1994 onwards cars. And if you go for something like the touring model like this is, you get leather, you get a passenger airbag, and you get a CD player as standard. Might cost you a few £100 more, but probably well worth it. This wasn't a particularly cheap car when it was new. This touring model would have cost nearly £25,000. Now, something like this V-Reg with only 31,000 miles on the clock would sell for somewhere round about £6,500. If you went for a non-touring model, you might save yourselves a few £100, but essentially, it's a cheap sports car. The Nissan 200 SX is a stylish but slightly dated looking car. It offers reasonable performance and fun for the money. Now, I can't see why Darren wouldn't choose this car, but it's back over to you, John, to see exactly what Darren thinks.
Okay, so there you go. Ian had the Nissan 200 SX. Does that tempt you away from the car you've chosen?
I'm not so sure if it would tempt me away from it. Styling-wise, it was very similar to the Mazda. However, having not driven it, I think that the Mazda would have to come out on top at the moment.
All right, well, I think you've nearly given the game away there. But anyway, give me in reverse order from your least favourite to your favourite from 3, 2, 1.
I think the least would have to be the Fiat Coupe, followed by the...
Why the Fiat Coupe least?
I think just because I was a little disappointed with the performance.
All right, in second place?
The Hyundai Coupe.
Okay. And why was that pipped?
Maybe just being a bit snobby because of the badge.
I'm not going to go into this badge thing again. What's in first place then?
It's got to be the Mazda.
Why?
Just one word really, performance, I think.
You loved it really, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
It is quite a cracking car.
It's lovely.
Okay then, I know the Mazda MX6 is the winner this week, but I know you've been waiting for me to say this for ages. Do you want to take it for a little bit of a drive, do I?
I'd love to.
I thought you would. Come on then, let's go. I have to say, for a 12-year-old car, it still looks quite good.
Certainly, I think it will do for a few more years to come as well.
Especially if you buy it. Now, if you're tempted to go out and buy one of our 3 cars this week, here's what you should look out for.
As the Mazda MX6 shares its underpinnings with the Ford Probe, most things that go wrong with the Probe also go wrong with the Mazda. Rear brake calipers seize and stop working, often without any warning, and they aren't cheap at around £150 each. The distributor also fails. A new one is about £500, but a repair kit is available and costs around £100. Interior trim is not the most robust, so check the overall condition for signs of wear. Overall, the Hyundai Coupe has proved very reliable. However, there are a few weak points, so check the following things. Early models have a timing belt and chain fitted. The timing chain can become noisy, producing a tappity-type noise. Hyundai modified later cars and corrected the problem. Check alloy wheels for corrosion, as some suffered from a paint problem. To keep that low roof line, the sunroof slides on the outside. Check the front edge of the steel sliding panel, as it's prone to rust that left unchecked will lead to holes in the sunroof. The early Fiat Coupes were prone to rust around the rear chassis legs. This will cost a fortune to put right, so check carefully. Check the alloy wheels for signs of bubbling and corrosion. Like the Mazda, the rear brake calipers can seize. At £250 each, this won't be a cheap repair. The car's Mini Ferrari nickname could apply to the servicing as well as the performance. These cars can have some pretty scary repair costs, so we advise you to find a coupe with a full service history, as something like a cam belt change can cost as much as £1,200.
Well, that's nearly it. Darren hated the Fiat. He didn't mind the Hyundai. He hated the badge, but he didn't mind the car. And he loved the Mazda MX6. He is a performance man, and that car can perform. If I had to choose one of the three cars this week, well, I'd probably have to go with what the Italians go with, and that is the Hyundai. It's a bit of a squeeze to get into it, but it's still a nice car to drive. But that's nearly it from Used Car Heaven. I hope you enjoyed it. Join us next week when we'll have another viewer searching for their favourite car. We'll see you then. Good luck.